Hey everyone, if you want to know more about hormone replacement therapy and anti-aging medicine and wellness in general, stay tuned because I'm talking to my good friend Mike Brookins from AMI about all of the cutting edge technology we're learning about in Las Vegas. Stay tuned.
How are your cells dividing? There's a correlation with telomeres and your cellular death. Essentially, you do a telomere test. You test your biological age, which is your cellular death, your mitochondria, it's your powerhouse, your cell. And then you do all kinds of treatments, NAD, epitalion, TA65, which is spirulina. You can do, don't even get me started, all kinds of peptides. But we do a protocol at our practice, and then we retest telomeres. You gotta let them grow back. So a month after the protocol, maybe a little NMN, oral NMN, 600 milligrams. That's a good one, you guys. Right. And then you retest telomeres, and you can show significant growth. There's no data. There's no studies on this stuff.
Right.
But when I talked to the guys at the telomere talk tonight, I'm like, this is what I've noticed in my practice. He stopped his talk, and he goes, you should do a study. And I was like, because I have the data. I have the data with my patients, and 100% of my patients, sorry to say there, has shown significant improvement with telomerase activity, which is great. Patients now have empirical data of reversing aging. We've never been able to show reversal of age, but now we can.
It's crazy. I went to the peptide seminar, and Dr. Seeds was talking about the extension of cellular life.
Right.
And he was just talking about epigenetics, and look, he's got a very unique approach, I think, to managing health, which is trying to do things naturally. That's why peptides work. But getting your own body, he used a great term, cellular intelligence.
I love it.
As I told you,
and
that's a great one, right?
That is a great, and we talked about it last night. That's a great word. It means the same thing as epigenetics, but it's more relatable to the patient.
It's like optimizing your body at the cellular level, right? Optimizing, getting that cell to produce and be the best that it can be.
And it's everything. As much as I've gone pharmacopoeia with peptides and hormones and all that, I've come all the way back to lifestyle, nutrition, exercise, sleep. So for all you guys at home, do the 4 pillars, do that, get blood work. All this stuff's going to work so much better.
It's true. Well, that's another thing that we had sort of spoken about that I wanted to bring up. So in Miami, we have a lot of guys that will come to us that, they've reached a certain level of success, financially, and they've been doing, illegal steroids, from a younger age in the gyms and getting it, vials of testosterone and God only knows what, and getting testosterone black market and all these things. And so we have to, we have to try to convince some of them, because they're so used to this lifestyle of, look, there's a proper way to manage your health, to take a look at your labs, to make sure that you're not supernatural, that everything is operating. We want people to operate at the upper end of natural, but not supernatural.
Not super physiological levels.
I always, wonder, I understand that people want to look a certain way, but they're all, like you said, you might be doing something from the bathtub of some guy, or I had a client, by the way.
I've had a lot of abscis. A lot of guys come to me, I got abscess.
This is my craziest. I had a client, and he's a great guy, very nice. He's a, he's a trainer, and he has a huge online following, and he also competes. So he was coming to me finally, he needs, therapy. He's low, he's older also. But he had been getting testosterone. So here's the crazy part. He was getting testosterone from other sources. When he came in, ran his blood work, put him on a normal just testosterone regimen, ran his blood work at week 7, and his testosterone was 130.
Okay.
And I was shocked. So I said, listen, what happened? Did you stop doing your injections? This is not right.
That's a 2 weeks out.
You know what he did? He was using a vial that he had gotten from the gym until the end.
I know what you're gonna say.
He had been injecting oil like inert. It was inert the whole time.
It's bacteriosteri water.
It's crazy.
Awesome.
It's crazy.
I know.
So I think that when you are buying from an illegal source, you can get something either inert, or if I were producing my own illegal testosterone, I would bump it up.
Right. Well,
everyone would love your stuff.
And the great thing is, which puts us in an advantage, is those guys never do labs.
Yeah.
They never do the labs. So we're bringing something to the table. We're like, okay, you can still do that. Let's start there. Oh, and really, Brian, what are we cheaper? than
No,
underground
I
steroids?
gotta be honest with you.
Are we
it's
more expensive?
crazy. It's literally
We're
about
cheaper.
the same price.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we're cheaper. What is a bottle of underground testosterone going to run you if you go?
Yeah, in Miami, I think it's like 175,
Okay.
and for us, it's like 160.
Exactly. So we're same, but
You
maybe
know-
a couple nickels cheaper.
Listen, the difference is that they don't then do the anastrozole, they don't do the HCG,
There's the
they don't do the
education.
exactly.
It's
And so-
hard though because guys get a good thing going. They don't want to switch over. But I will say, once you add the labs, once you add education to patients.
Yeah, I did get one vial of testosterone. This is like years before I went to a clinic.
Right.
And there was one moment that I was like injecting myself, and I was looking at the vial, and the label looked like it had come off of someone's, printer. I remember like when I got my first package, I looked at all these little vials
already
and
know where you're
needles
going
and
with this.
powder, and I'm like,
What do
there's
I
no.
do?
It's not only what do I do? It's will this stuff work? There's
Yeah.
no way that this little powder can
Yeah.
actually be
No,
like a
yeah,
life
yeah.
changer.
And then what happened?
Oh my God, man! 35 pounds later, in
In
5
like 2-3
months,
weeks, you're like,
I mean, I felt immediately better.
Light
of
bulb
course.
back on. It's like someone got the fog off the goggles.
The
I've heard
depression,
that.
yeah. There's no more depression.
That's the first thing I hear. Within the first 2 weeks, guys go, I'm like, well, what can I expect with testosterone therapy, ipamorelin, getting my hormones modularized? I go, well, what I hear, and I'm not going to give you the hard sell, what my patients tell me, within 2 weeks, the lifting and depression happens because you have thousands of testosterone receptors in the brain. You have this dopamine push, and the first thing you're going to feel, if you have it, is the lifting of the depression, which is, I think, great instead of an SSRI or an antidepressant.
Listen, how many people do you think are on how many males
Ooh.
are probably
where
on
you're going.
Prozac or some type of antidepressant?
It's the most prescribed medication in the world, if that gives you any idea.
It's crazy. And it's not only that, there's also an antipsychotic that I think there's a crazy, it was on
Yeah.
the Joe Rogan podcast.
It is called Seroquel.
Like 60 or 70% of all
Yep.
all guys that go on an antidepressant have to go on an
Right.
antipsychotic.
And I do this when we do gut and brain microbiome, and we test, heavy metals, B vitamins, which in the Villa and Flora, you make 90% of your dopamine, you make 50% of your serotonin in the gut.
Right.
So why these doctors start doing these fix your wires in the brain? Stay away from that. Fix the gut and brain. So you focus on the gut, focus on B vitamins, D, and testosterone, all these hormone modulators. You watch people improve. Don't mess with the brain.
It's crazy. You know what I find a lot, and I'm sure that you encounter this in your own practice. Our initial consult is sort of expensive because it includes such an expansive
Right.
hormone panel.
Right.
And people are used to going to their general practitioner, and they get a CBC, a CMP, and like a lipid panel,
Right.
which basically tell you nothing.
TSH?
Yeah.
It had nothing to do
By-
with
hey, by the
thyroid.
way, it is the most insane thing. How is it that they don't run T3 and T4 when
It drives
TSH?
it drives me crazy.
it's
And they're like,
mind-boggling,
well,
right?
oh, my thyroid's good, my TH is normal. And I talk to patients, I go, so that's a pituitary hormone.
Right.
It stands for
It's
thyroid stimulation.
crazy.
It tells me nothing about your thyroid. And by the way, the labs your doctor just did you tells me nothing. It tells me you're standing in front of me breathing.
Right.
That's it.
Listen, why, because we see so many people that have normal TSH, but their T3 and T4 are so low. But why is that the standard test?
So there is a correlation. The Society of Endocrinology does state that TSH is homeostatic to T3 and T4. In my years of doing nuclear medicine, doing thyroid ablations with radioactive iodine, that's all I would get from endocrinologists. And there is some truth to it. However, when talking hormones, when talking testosterone, when talking adrenals, there's this negative feedback loops, there are these axes. It's not true for all. So it's like when someone does a genetic test and says, oh, your predispositions for this. I don't care about that. I
Right.
want to know exactly empirical data. What is my T3 doing? What is my T4 doing? I want
Right.
to know exactly. You need to do a more expensive panel. And that's why it's $350,
Yeah.
$400. I mean, a little more expensive, but it's 70 more panels. It's 10 vials, pints of blood they take out of you. It's great.
It's crazy. I always, and I try to explain it to the clients that, for insurance purposes, oftentimes insurance companies won't cover tests unless they're running a certain sequence.
Right.
So, like, if someone has
Unless they
progressively bad,
test
right,
really
exactly.
lower,
Right.
that they'll cover it.
And then they could cover the next one, then they could
I
cover the
know.
next one.
Yeah.
And sort of, it's very bizarre how the entire sort of insurance /
Right,
labs
right.
work.
Right.
But the labs that the general practitioner run don't give them enough data, and I think they don't have enough time.
Well, and they don't, and really, and I try to educate patients on this too. It's like, I don't mean to bash MDs
Exactly.
and doctors. They're there. Like, if you get cancer, you get hit by a bus, great. Go to your MD, do that. But if you're looking for preventative, integrative, functional medicine, like, you got to go cash pay. You got to go someone that's used to looking at the biomarkers. And really, it's really like, for instance, you go to a GP, use your insurance for the labs I'm going to do. They're $5,000 request.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They're going to charge your insurance $1,100. It's going to be a $1,200 copay. But come to us. We have the benefit that with cash pay practices, you can negotiate with the pharmacy. You can negotiate with the labs. We can pass those savings on to our patients.
Right. It's amazing. You know, there are so many times when we first started our practice, of course, this is like 5-6 years ago, that we would try to be, you know, helpful to our friends. And our friends would come to us and say, and, you know, new clients, and they would say, hey, I have an amazing insurance plan. Just run the blood work through the insurance plan. And I would say, listen, I'm going to do that for you, but there's a chance that the charges aren't covered, and then we have a problem.
I know.
And then I would get a phone call, Brian, I have a $6,000 bill.
I know.
I have a $5,000 bill. What's going on? And I would then say, listen, I told you that, you know, we could run it for you at a much more reduced rate. You thought you had amazing insurance, but in general, they don't want to cover anything.
I have the same exact story when I first started. It's basically the same thing. And I've graduated to saying, call your insurance companies, see what these labs are covered. In most cases, our cash pay price is much less than your copay.
Exactly.
And you know what? They always call back. They go, you're right. It was going to be $4,000 for the labs you guys run.
Well, the other thing, even with the copay, like I've done this before. Here's where I think that the whole industry of insurance and labs is bizarre. I ran our panel through my insurance, and I ran it through us, right? So I know what the cost is.
Right.
My actual insurance, you know, I get a bill from the insurance. So I get something from Cigna that said your normal cost for this test would have been $350. It's $50, and then you total up, you know, the cost of that through insurance. My copay was like $450.
Right.
And we're offering it for much less. So even the copay, and I always think
we're less than copay.
Right. Yeah. How does Cigna, which is this multi-billion-dollar company, have worse rates?
It's the medical system we live in. It's the politics.
Yeah.
And when you start getting these deals, you wonder, well, what do these labs really cost? If they're charging $5,000 for a panel, and like we're able to go straight to Quest and purchase them for $350, like, and I give the patient the same price.
Exactly.
We don't upcharge, and it's like, what do they really so $2 pennies.
I know.
So they're making so much money anyway.
So listen, everybody, like, share, subscribe this video if you liked it. I'm Rewind Miami, Rewind Anti-Aging in Miami. So follow us on Facebook. And my buddy Mike, give your own plug.
Age Management Institute of Santa Barbara, AMI, SantaBarbara.com.
Is that your Insta? What's your Insta?
At AMI Santa Barbara.
There you go. Look him up. Follow him. We both have really good content, social media. So like, follow, and share this video.